They said the human ship shouldn't have made it that far, that its engines would melt before crossing the veil, that no living thing could survive the silence between stars that had already died. And yet, there it was, a single vessel drifting through the black, its hull torn, its signal fractured, carrying the last heartbeat of a dying species. Across the galaxy, alien empires watched in disbelief. Their fleets had burned our worlds. Their leaders had declared us extinct. But now, something was moving inside that wreck. Something ancient, something awakened by desperation. A power humanity had buried deep beneath fear and memory. The scanners showed no life signs, no energy readings, just the impossible. Because when the stars began to flicker, one by one, every watcher in the cosmos felt the same thing: terror. They thought humanity had vanished forever. But you can't erase what was never just flesh and bone. You can't kill what was waiting to remember what it truly was. Before the silence, there was Captain Mara Elen, a name that once meant nothing beyond the edge of Sol. She wasn't a hero, not then, just another explorer, stubborn, bright-eyed, and too human for her own good. Her ship, the Artemis II, was a survey cruiser, small, underarmed, and perpetually underfunded. She'd spent years mapping dead systems, logging minerals no one cared to mine. It was routine work, lonely, thankless, and endlessly quiet. But Mara loved it. To her, the silence between stars wasn't empty. It was a kind of peace. A reminder that even when humanity's colonies were crumbling, even when the Galactic Council had stripped Earth of its voice, the stars still listened. She used to talk to them, out loud, as if they could answer. "We'll be seen again," she'd whisper. "One day, they'll remember what we are." Then came Voron's line, the invisible frontier where the galaxy itself began to change. It wasn't marked by asteroids or nebula. It was a feeling, a thinning in the void. Instruments twitched, radiation climbed, and light bent in ways it shouldn't. The aliens called it a dead zone, a place where ships disappeared without a trace. Mara called it an invitation. When her crew begged her to turn back, she smiled that same small, defiant smile she'd worn since her cadet days. "If there's something out there that scares them," she said, "it probably started with us." They thought she was joking, but Mara wasn't one for jokes. Because she'd read the files the others hadn't. The black dossiers locked behind Earth Command firewalls, the ones marked ARK protocols. And in every fragment of corrupted data, one phrase appeared over and over again: Project Singularity. Initiated. No one knew what it meant. Not even the AI on board, HERA, could decrypt it fully. But the fragments told a story of something buried, something Earth had hidden during the final war, something too dangerous to destroy. That's why Mara came to Voron's line. Not for glory, not for science. She came because she believed humanity left a message for itself, a final whisper in the dark. The Artemis II crossed the threshold 3 days before the signal cut out. No distress call, no explosion, just static. For weeks, the galaxy waited. The alien networks called it a malfunction, a failure of fragile human machinery. But among the Terran diaspora, the miners, the refugees, the forgotten soldiers scattered across distant colonies, whispers began to spread. She went where no one else dared. She found something. She woke it up. And then the stars began to flicker. Across the Orion belt, observatories recorded impossible energy surges, pulses older than the galaxies themselves. The Council ordered silence. The empires panicked. But far beyond their reach, inside the fractured hull of a ship that should have been lifeless, Mara Elen awoke. Her body was weak. Her lungs burned. Her vision swam in colors the human eye was never meant to see. But she was alive, barely, floating in a sea of red emergency light and whispering data ghosts. Greater than Hera, she croaked. Status. Static. Then, a voice, distant, fragmented. Greater than Captain. Containment breached. Singularity chamber. Active. The words froze her blood. The chamber was supposed to be sealed, a relic, inert, impossible to power. And yet, she could feel it humming through the metal beneath her hands. Alive. Something deep within Artemis II was awake, and it was watching her. Mara staggered toward the core deck, dragging herself through twisted corridors. Every step echoed like thunder in the hollowed ship. She could see stars through the fractures in the hull, thousands of them, and for the first time in her life, they felt like they were staring back. When she reached the core, she stopped. The chamber was open. The containment fields were gone. And within that broken sphere of shimmering metal floated a singular point of light, impossibly small, impossibly bright, pulsing like a heartbeat. Her reflection rippled across the fractured glass. For a moment, she saw her own eyes glow with that same impossible light. Greater than Mara Elen of Earth, the voice said, not through her ears, but directly inside her thoughts. Do you remember what they made you forget? She fell to her knees, because she did remember. Fragments, dreams, the last war. The thing humanity had created not to win, but to survive losing. Her father's voice echoed from memory. When they come for us again, we won't fight with weapons. We'll fight with what we are. And now she understood. Humanity hadn't vanished. It had transformed, buried its strength in the dark, waiting for someone brave enough, desperate enough to find it. And she just had. The first pulse spread outward like a whisper, invisible, silent, yet felt by every sensor, every mind attuned to the hum of the stars. In less than a heartbeat, it reached the border worlds. Satellites flickered, ships powered down mid-flight. Entire comm grids collapsed under an energy frequency that shouldn't have existed. And at the center of it all, Mara Elen stood before the awakened singularity core. Her fingertips hovered inches from the pulsing light. Every instinct screamed at her to stop, but something older than fear kept her moving. Greater than Captain, Hera's voice sputtered through bursts of static. I am detecting cross-dimensional interference, quantum, resonance patterns, matching pre-war Terran codes. Mara blinked through the haze. Pre-war codes? Those were deleted centuries ago. Correction. Archived. Hidden. Inside the core. Her breath caught. The ARK protocols, humanity's final contingency, weren't just data. They were alive. Half a galaxy away, the Voth Dominion was first to notice. Their admiral's command ship, Vor-Nash-Ka, hung in orbit over the conquered world of Tareen Prime, a planet they'd taken from humans decades ago. Report, the admiral growled, his voice like gravel under pressure. A sensor officer bowed. Greater than unknown energy signature, Lord Admiral. Origin point, the Terran vessel designated Artemis II. The admiral sneered. Terrans? They have no fleets left, no world, no gods, only ghosts. Yet the signal matches, planetary-level weapon output. The admiral turned toward the holo display. The readings were unstable, rising exponentially. Greater than send a cruiser wing, find the source, erase it. But even as his fleet turned to obey, the first wave of interference struck them. Engines stuttered, shields blinked out, power relays screamed. Greater than Lord Admiral, systems are collapsing! The lights died. In the darkness, only the starlight remained, and it was flickering. Inside Artemis II, Mara watched as the pulse cascaded across her displays. mapping itself through every relay, every system, every neural node of her ship. Hera's voice trembled. Greater than, Captain, this energy, it's responding to you. The glow of the core pulsed in sync with her heartbeat. Her vision blurred. Symbols scrolled through her HUD faster than she could read. Terran encryption mixed with alien code, reassembling itself. She reached out, almost reverently. Show me. The chamber filled with light, images, voices, memories not her own. 1,000 human faces, soldiers, engineers, children, dreamers, all bound together by purpose. We built the singularity to survive them, to become something they couldn't erase. If you are hearing this, then humanity's time has come again. The message ended, replaced by silence. But Mara felt it, a surge of warmth spreading through her veins. Her neural interface had bonded with the core. She was connected to it, and through it, to something far greater than Captain. Hera's tone shifted, soft, reverent. You are no longer transmitting human vitals. Your biochemistry, it's changing. Mara steadied her breath. Then let it. She turned toward the navigation console. Her hands moved faster than thought, guided by instinct, or perhaps by something older. Greater than Hera, prepare a system-wide broadcast. Use the old Terran distress frequency. Captain, that band is obsolete. Exactly. No one but us will hear it. The AI hesitated, then obeyed. Greater than transmission ready. Mara looked out at the fractured starlight. Send it. Across forgotten colonies, buried beneath alien rule, humanity heard the call. It was faint, a ghost of a signal buried in static. But every Terran-descended mind felt it. A vibration in the bones, a whisper at the edge of hearing, a feeling that something ancient and human had awakened. On the mining world of Eden 9, a boy working the plasma pits looked up as every light went out. In the darkness, the dust in the air shimmered faintly blue. Dad, he whispered, the stars are blinking. On Kyra Station, an old war veteran froze mid-card game as the table's comm implant flickered to life, a symbol he hadn't seen since the fall. A simple sigil, a burning circle surrounded by wings. Greater than Earth remembers. Meanwhile, the Voth Dominion's fleet reached Artemis II. Dozens of warships encircled the wounded Terran vessel, their shadows blotting out the distant suns. Greater than lock all batteries, the Admiral commanded. No survivors. But the human ship didn't move, didn't fire, didn't even raise shields. It just floated there, silent and still. Then the stars flickered again. Greater than Admiral, gravitic distortion detected. From where? Greater than everywhere. The void itself bent. Energy rippled outward, folding space like paper. One by one, Voth ships blinked off scanners. Not destroyed, erased. Inside the command bridge, the Admiral staggered forward. What is this? A voice answered him. Calm, human, impossible. Greater than the last light of Earth. He turned toward the holo display, but there was no source. Only the faint outline of a woman's face, her eyes glowing white like collapsing stars. You should have left us buried, she said softly. And then the transmission cut. Back aboard Artemis II, Mara felt her body dissolve into light. Her mind stretched through the ship's systems, through the fabric of reality itself. She could see the Voth fleet, every ship, every weapon, every heartbeat, suspended within the singularity's reach. Greater than Captain, HERA said, you are merging with the core. If this continues, your physical form... Tahi, doesn't matter, she whispered. Humanity needs a voice again. She reached out, not with hands but with thought, and the singularity answered. In an instant, every human across the stars saw it. The Voth armada imploding inward, their own weapons turning to dust, their screams dissolving into energy. No fire, no explosion, just light. Pure, silent, and final. The Galactic Council met in emergency session 3 hours later. Every empire sent delegates. Every species demanded answers. Greater than, we detected energy readings surpassing any known weapon, one said. That frequency, it's Terran in origin, another whispered. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Terrans are extinct. Then explain the silence. The stars went dark. And in that rising panic, something shifted. Because the stars had gone dark, briefly, yes, but when they returned, they weren't the same. Constellations had changed, space itself had rewritten its geometry, as if reality had remembered a different shape. Inside the wreck of Artemis II, only the hum of the core remained. Mara's body lay motionless, but her mind was elsewhere, everywhere. Greater than Captain, Hera's voice trembled. If you can hear me. The Council has declared a state of emergency. Every empire is searching for the source. What are your orders? Her answer came as a whisper of thought, carried across the void. Greater than let them come. The AI hesitated. Mara, what have you done? Greater than what humanity always does, she replied. Adapted. For the first time in recorded history, the core pulsed in rhythm with the entire Terran genetic frequency. It reached every human colony, every forgotten survivor, every exiled soul. Within hours, dormant nanites reactivated in Terran bloodlines. Scattered remnants began to change. Faster reflexes, heightened perception, memories not their own awakening. The Terran Singularity Network was reforming, not through machines but through people. In orbit over Terrene Prime, a Voth commander recorded the last transmission before his fleet vanished. Greater than, we thought they were broken. We thought they were gone. But humanity was never gone. They were only waiting for us to blink first. From that moment, every alien power in the galaxy began a countdown, not of conquest, but of fear. Because now they knew the truth. Humanity hadn't been destroyed. It had evolved into something the universe wasn't ready for. Something that remembered every wound, every betrayal, every fire. And as the pulse spread beyond the rim into uncharted darkness, one phrase echoed in every language, across every channel. The stars themselves have gone silent. The alien armada surrounded them like a noose tightening around the throat of creation. Thousands of ships, each larger than continents, glowed with the pale fire of annihilation. Their weapons hummed in unison, channeling power drawn from stars themselves. The Zorath High Conclave had declared it the cleansing hour. Humanity's last fleet, a scattered handful of scarred vessels, hung in the darkness like ghosts refusing to fade. Admiral Leora stood at the command deck of the Vigilant Dawn, her reflection fractured in the reinforced glass. Behind her, the crew waited for orders that could not possibly save them. Status, she said quietly. Shields failing. Reactor at 31%, her tactical officer whispered. Enemy formation complete. They're charging for the final volley. Lyora's hand brushed over the console. The metal was warm, trembling, as though even the ship feared what was coming. Transmit to all channels, she ordered. This is Admiral Leora of the United Terran Fleet. To all human vessels, hold your ground. Her voice didn't waver, though the void seemed to shake around them. Outside, the alien ships began to glow, a blinding sea of light stretching beyond imagination. This was it. The end. And yet, something in her blood refused to surrender. She closed her eyes. For a heartbeat, she saw them all. Her ancestors who had burned under alien suns, the cities that had fallen, the children whose laughter had been silenced. Humanity had been cornered, crushed, erased from the maps of the stars, but not from the story. "Open the Ark," she whispered. The crew froze. "Ma'am, the Ark protocol is untested. It will," Leora said. "We have no other path left." In the core of the vigilant dawn, sealed for centuries beneath layers of forgotten code, something ancient began to stir. Across the fleet, systems flickered. Old encryption keys, predating the fall of Earth, unlocked in sequence. A pulse rippled outward. Not energy, not signal, but memory. The humans called it the Ark of Minds, a last resort, a vault of every human thought, every dream, every fear, every heartbeat ever recorded before the fall. It was more than data. It was essence. And as the vault opened, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. Every ship, every soldier, every fragment of humanity across the void felt it. A rising pulse, a resonance that began in the chest and grew until it became unbearable. Leora gasped, gripping the rail. She could feel them, all of them, whispering in her mind. Billions of voices, billions of lives, reaching through time itself. You are not alone. The alien flagship unleashed its weapon. A spear of blinding energy cut through the dark, moving faster than thought. Leora didn't flinch. "Ark Command, synchronize." In a single moment, the human fleet vanished. Not destroyed, transformed. Their ships blurred, edges folding like reflections in a shattered mirror. The Ark's consciousness bled into the material world, reconfiguring hulls, amplifying mass, rewriting the laws of physics. The vigilant dawn became light itself, a weaponized echo of humanity's will. When the alien energy beam struck, it didn't consume the humans. It rebounded. A single, impossible moment, where cause reversed effect. The pulse exploded outward, swallowing the alien armada in cascading silence. In the command deck, Leora's breath trembled as the view screen dissolved into a sea of burning starlight. One by one, the alien ships were ripped apart, not by weapons, but by the sheer force of quantum resonance. The Zorath weapons failed. Their shields crumbled, their formation disintegrated. And in the midst of it all, the vigilant dawn moved, not through engines, not through space, but through will. "Target the flagship," Leora said softly. Her navigator blinked through tears. "Ma'am, the flagship's the size of a moon." "Then aim for the heart." The human fleet surged. Their ships no longer burned. They sang. A deep harmonic frequency rolled through the void, harmonizing with the pulse of ancient stars. The aliens screamed across open channels as their systems overloaded. The vigilant dawn pierced the flagship's core, and for a heartbeat, time stopped. Every star in the sector dimmed. Every signal went silent. Then, light. An explosion so vast it carved a new nebula into existence. When the light faded, there was nothing left of the Zorath armada. Only drifting embers, like the ashes of gods. Leora stared into the void. The fleet was gone. Her ship, half ruined, systems breaking down. Yet she smiled faintly, because they had done it. Humanity, against every law of the cosmos, had stood its ground. In distant systems, watchers trembled. Empires that had mocked Earth for its weakness now saw the truth written in the stars. The humans had become something more. No empire could explain it. No science could contain it. The galaxy's greatest fleets had witnessed the moment when mortals reached beyond fear, when will itself had become a weapon. Leora leaned against the console, whispering to herself, "Let them remember this silence. Let them remember what woke it." The ship drifted in the aftermath, engines gone, crew exhausted, but in the background hum of the void, the Ark still pulsed, steady, alive, waiting. It wasn't over. Humanity had revealed its hidden power, and the stars had gone silent not out of awe, but out of fear. Because something greater had just been born, and the galaxy knew. The next time the humans rose, the universe itself would have to decide whether to kneel or burn. The void was quiet again, not the silence of death or defeat, but the kind that follows revelation, where every particle, every flicker of light seems to pause, listening. Fragments of alien ships drifted through the darkness, their once impervious hulls glowing faintly with residual heat. Among them, the vigilant Dawn floated wounded but alive, its engines dark, its crew silent, their eyes fixed on the ruins of what had been the most powerful armada in the galaxy. Admiral Leora stood by the shattered viewport, hands clasped behind her back. Her uniform was torn, streaked with soot and blood, but her gaze was steady. The light from the distant explosion still shimmered across her face like a memory of fire. "Status report," she whispered. "Minimal power. Life support stable. The Ark still active," her officer said softly, almost reverently. "We're receiving pings from the colonies. Static at first, but it's spreading. They're hearing us again, Admiral." Leora exhaled slowly. Her voice barely carried when she spoke. "Then humanity isn't just alive. It's awake." For centuries, they had been hunted, cornered, scattered among the edges of the cosmos, an afterthought in alien history. But that was over. The Ark had changed everything. Somewhere deep within the ship's core, the Ark's pulse continued, slow, rhythmic, like a second heartbeat. It resonated faintly through the metal, through the deck plates, through the bones of every survivor aboard. It wasn't just data or energy. It was something older. Human, will made manifest. One of the engineers, voice trembling, whispered the thought everyone shared. "What was it, Admiral?" "That power. How did we—" Leora looked out at the sea of burning wrecks, the silent stars beyond. "It wasn't power," she said softly. "It was memory." The crew listened. When the Ark activated, it didn't just link ships. It reached back into every echo of who we were, every choice, every dream, every sacrifice. Humanity remembered itself, and when it did, the universe remembered us too. No one spoke after that. They didn't need to, because far away, on forgotten worlds, human children would soon look up and see new constellations forming, born from the ashes of this battle. Patterns that would tell a story of defiance, of light refusing to die. Reports began to filter in from across the sectors, alien fleets withdrawing, outposts going dark, empires halting their wars. Not from defeat, but from fear. The pulse of the Ark had been felt in every corner of the void. They had all heard it, the thunder of something impossible awakening. And yet, amid the fear, there was wonder. Some alien scholars began to call it the singularity of will. Others whispered that humanity had transcended mortality itself. But Leora knew better. They hadn't ascended. They had simply remembered why they fought in the first place. Not to conquer, not to dominate, but to endure. To stand when every law of existence said they should fall. To protect what could never be replicated, the soul of a species that refused extinction. In the days that followed, the remaining fleet limped toward the nearest habitable world. The planet's twin suns rose as their battered ships descended, leaving trails of light across a sky unscarred by war. The survivors walked upon solid ground again. For the first time in generations, human boots touched soil that belonged to no empire but their own. Children of the Ark, they called themselves, builders of the new dawn. Lyora stood among them as the sun crested the horizon, her reflection cast in the glass of a shattered helmet she carried. "You know what this means," she said quietly to her second-in-command. He nodded, eyes wet. "They'll come again." "They always do," she smiled faintly. "Then we'll be ready. This time, they'll find us standing together." Behind them, the Ark's pulse still echoed faintly through the air, subtle, almost imperceptible, not as a weapon now, but as a song, a reminder. And across the stars, countless beings, human and alien alike, felt it. Some trembled in fear, others felt hope, because even in their own fractured histories, they recognized something in that sound, something that transcended biology, language, and time. Defiance, love, memory, the essence of being alive. And so, as the galaxy rebuilt, the legend spread. They said there was a day when the stars went silent, when an entire empire vanished in light, when the forgotten species of Earth rose from extinction, and reminded the cosmos that humanity was not a mistake, but a message written in the heart of every survivor. We were never the strongest, never the fastest, never the oldest. But we were the ones who looked into the abyss and refused to blink. Admiral Lyora watched the horizon flare with morning light. Her ship, broken but alive, loomed behind her, a monument to what humanity had become. "We'll rebuild," she said quietly. "Not for vengeance, not for fear, but because that's who we are." Her voice softened, carried on the wind. "And if the stars ever forget that again, we'll remind them." The camera would fade here, lingering on her silhouette against the dawn, the hum of the Ark resonating softly beneath the narration. And as the final light of sunrise crested the ridge, a single line would echo across the cosmos, closing the chapter of extinction and beginning the story of rebirth. When humanity remembered what it truly was, the universe finally learned what it meant to breathe.